The cargo ship drifted quietly through the dark space, its engines humming low, like a sleeping giant. Most of the crew had left at the last station, but one man stayed behind to do repairs. His name was Jared, a quiet human engineer who liked to work alone. He didn't expect anything strange that night. The lights flickered sometimes. The metal walls groaned and echoed, but he was used to it. Space could be lonely, but it was simple, until he heard a soft cry at first. Jared thought it was just the sound of the pipes, but the cry came again. It was weak, trembling, almost like a whisper. It came from the back of the cargo bay, where old crates and scrap metal were stored. He paused, holding his breath. "Hello?" he called, stepping forward. No answer. Only silence. Jared picked up a small flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, sweeping across metal boxes, loose wires, and old food packs. Then he heard it again. A sob. A small, broken sob. His heart beat faster. No one was supposed to be here. Slowly, carefully, Jared walked deeper into the cargo bay. He passed crates marked with warning signs, dangerous parts from the last war. His boots made soft echoes on the floor. The sound came again. Closer now, then he saw it. A small figure curled up behind a crate. It was shaking, hiding. Jared stopped. "Who's there?" he asked, voice low. The figure looked up. Big, glowing eyes stared at him. Purple skin, thin arms. A child, an alien. She didn't speak right away. Her lips trembled. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Jared's breath caught. This wasn't just any alien. She was from a race called Sari. They had been labeled enemies by the Human Council. Dangerous, violent, unwanted. But this child looked terrified. She crawled forward slowly, still on her knees. Her voice came out in broken English, soft like wind. "Please, no, tell soldiers. Mama said, stay quiet." Jared froze. Her eyes were full of tears. Her hands were shaking. He knelt down slowly, keeping his hands open. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said gently. "What's your name?" "Elula," she whispered, voice cracking. "Where's your mother?" The child's head lowered. She left," said. "Humans coming. Said I must hide. Said she will come back." Jared felt something tighten in his chest. He looked. Around the bay was empty. No signs of another being. Just one scared little girl, lost and alone. "Are you hungry, Quay?" he asked. Lula nodded slowly. Her eyes never left his face. She was still shaking, her legs curled up like she was ready to run. Jared reached into his pocket and pulled out a protein bar. He opened it and offered it to her. Lula took it with trembling hands. She ate quickly, like she hadn't eaten in days. "Thank you," she whispered. Jared sat beside her, not too close. His mind was racing. If anyone found out he had helped a sorry child, he could be arrested or worse. But how could he leave her here? "You've been hiding here all this time?" he asked. Lula nodded again. "Mama locked me in here. She said, 'You stay quiet, baby. Mama will come back.' But it's been long." She looked up, her small face full of fear. "Did humans take her?" Jared didn't know what to say. Instead, he asked gently, "Did she leave anything? For you, a message, anything?" Lula reached under her cloak and pulled out a small data crystal. She said, "If human finds me, show them this." Jared took the crystal. His fingers were cold. He slipped it into his wristport device. A soft light flickered, and a voice played. A woman's voice. Tired, strong, sad. "If you're hearing this," the voice said, "then my child was found. Please, she is innocent. Whatever you think of me or my kind, she is only a child. Keep her safe. That is all I ask." Then silence. Lula wiped her eyes. "That's Mama," she whispered. Jared stared at the screen. The voice haunted him. This wasn't the voice of a warrior or enemy. This was a mother. Outside, the ship's sensors beeped. A patrol ship was coming close. Jared looked down at Lula. She was huddled again, afraid of being taken. He stood up, thinking fast. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was a choice. And Jared had to make it dash fast. Asterisk 1 week before Jared found Lula. The ship had been quiet, too, but not empty. The control room lights blinked softly as an alien warrior mother sat at the main console, bleeding from her side. Her name was Serene, and she knew she didn't have much time. Her hand pressed against the wound on her ribs. The pain was sharp, but she stayed strong for her daughter. In the corner of the control room, little Lula sat hugging her knees. Her eyes were wide and wet. She was only 7. And the only life she knew was one of running. Cyrene turned her head toward Lula. "Come here, baby," she said gently. Lula got up and walked over slowly. She climbed into her mother's lap, careful not to touch the wound. Cyrene wrapped her arms around her daughter and kissed her forehead. Her skin felt cold. Her body was getting weaker. The poison from the soldier's blade was spreading fast. "I need you to listen very carefully now," Cyrene whispered. Lula looked up. "Mama, are we safe now?" Cyrene forced a smile. "For now, yes, but humans are smart. They will find this ship soon." She picked up a small pouch from her belt and handed it to Lula. Inside was the data crystal. "If a human finds you, you show them this. It's important. It tells the truth." Lula took the pouch slowly. "What if they hurt me?" Cyrene's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. "Not all humans are bad. Some are kind. One of them will help you. They believe." She stood up slowly, wincing in pain. "We have to hide you now. Then I will lead the patrol away. They will follow me." "They always do." Lula grabbed her mother's hand. "No, don't go." Serene knelt again and held her tightly. "I have to, baby. If I stay, they will catch us both. If I leave, you still have a chance." Lula began to cry. Her body shook. Her mother's arms were the only warmth she had ever known. "Please don't leave me," she begged, burying her face in her mother's neck. Cyrene held her close. Heartbreaking, but her voice remained steady. "You are strong. You are brave. You are my child." She stood again and led Lula down to the cargo bay, where the cold metal crates stood like silent walls. Cyrene found the largest crate, pushed it aside, and opened a small hidden compartment she had prepared days before. There were food packs, a small blanket, and an oxygen filter. "This will keep you safe," she said, helping Lula crawl inside. Lula hesitated. "When will you come back?" Cyrene didn't answer right away. Her hand stroked her daughter's hair. "I'll come back," she whispered, even if she knew she wouldn't. She kissed Lula's forehead one last time and closed the panel. The child disappeared into the shadows. Cyrene locked the panel from outside and turned away. As she walked back to the control room, her body swayed. She had lost too much blood, but she couldn't stop. She opened a private channel. The emergency signal would show the ship as damaged and drifting, a perfect bait. Minutes later, a human patrol ship responded. It would arrive soon. Cyrene looked around the ship one last time. Every bolt, every wall, had been part of her plan to save Lula. She sat down at the pilot's seat and closed her eyes. Her mind raced with memories of her home planet, now bombed into dust, of her mate, taken during the first invasion, and of Lula's first cry as a baby in the middle of war. She had carried her child across starfields, ruins, and battle zones. She had lied, stolen, and bled to keep her alive. Now, this was the end. When the human patrol ship docked, Cyrene stood. Tall, her cloak hiding the wound. She walked out, hands raised. The soldiers shouted commands. She didn't listen. One raised a weapon. Cyrene didn't move. The blast hit her chest as her body hit the floor. Her lips moved silently. Live. Lula. Far below, in the dark. Cargo bay. Lula opened her eyes. Her mother's voice echoed faintly in her mind. She hugged her knees tightly and whispered to herself, "Mama will come back." Mama said, "Mama always comes back." But no footsteps came. Only cold silence. Jared sat alone in his small workshop, deep inside the ship. The emergency lights above flickered as he stared at the data crystal Lula had given him. The last words of her mother echoed in his ears. "She is only a child. Please. Protect." Her, Jared sighed and rubbed his face. He had seen many strange things during his 10 years as an engineer, but nothing like this. A sorry child, abandoned, scared. Alone and somehow hidden right under the noses of the patrols. And now, he was the one who had found her. He looked down the hallway where Lula was resting in a storage room. She was wrapped in a blanket, finally sleeping, her tiny body curled up like a kitten. Her breathing was soft, but sometimes she made little cries in her sleep. Jared felt his chest tighten. She wasn't a threat. She wasn't dangerous. She was just a child who had lost her mother. But rules were rules, and the rules said, any contact with hostile species must be reported. Immediate transfer to command is required. Jared had the choice. He could open a direct signal to command right now. Report the girl. Do his duty. He pulled up the ship's comms terminal and hovered his finger over the connect button. But then, he heard a sound behind him. Lula had come to the door. She held a soft rag from the blanket in her hands, like a toy. Her big eyes stared at him, scared again. "Are you sending me away?" she asked, voice trembling. Jared turned slowly. He saw the way her lip trembled. Her shoulders shook. He stood up and walked over, kneeling in front of her. "I don't know what I'm doing yet," he said. Honestly, Lula looked down. "I don't want to go with the soldiers. They killed my mama." Jared paused. "I'm not like them," he said softly. "I didn't hurt your mother." "I know," Lula whispered. "You gave me food." There was silence between them. The silence of a decision that had to be made. Then Jared took a deep breath and said, "Come on, let's eat something." He took her hand and walked back into the small kitchen unit. It was rusty and small, but it was warm. Jared heated 2 food packs and handed one to her. They sat together, quietly eating. Lula looked up between bites. "Where will I go now?" I don't know yet," Jared said. "But you're safe here for now." She nodded. "Thank you." Later that night, when Lula had gone back to sleep, Jared opened the data crystal again. He searched deeper into its files. Trying to understand what really happened, he found videos, dozens of them. Footage of Cyrene helping human civilians during the war, carrying wounded soldiers, shielding children from explosions. Nothing like what the council had said about her people. He leaned closer. His eyes widened. In one video, a human general was speaking directly to Cyrene, calling her friend. Why had none of this been released? Then he found the final video. Cyrene looking straight into the camera. "If you are human and watching this, you've probably been told we are killers, that we are monsters. But I was a mother before I was a soldier. I ran because I chose my daughter's life over a war I never wanted. Please, don't punish her for my choice. Jared's hands clenched into fists. They lied. They all lied. The council had turned people like Cyrene into enemies so no one would ask questions. And now it would do the same to Lula if they found her. He stood up and began pacing. He knew what this meant. If he kept Lula safe, he was now a criminal. He would be hunted. He would lose his job. His home, maybe his life. But he looked at the screen again, at Cyrene's tired, brave face, at the child who had smiled when he gave her food. Then he made a choice. The next morning, Lula woke up to find a new blanket, warmer than before. Her stomach didn't ache with hunger. And Jared had moved her to a small sleeping area with soft lighting and calming music. She walked over to him. "You didn't send the signal," she said softly. Jared looked at her. "No, I didn't." "Why?" He gave a sad smile, because sometimes doing the right thing isn't the same as following the rules. She looked confused. But then she smiled too. In the shadows outside the ship, a patrol drone hovered quietly, watching, scanning, and slowly moving closer. The silence wouldn't last long, but Jared was ready. He had made his choice, and he was not turning back. Jared sat in front of the console, his eyes staring at the old sorry data crystal. The screen glowed softly in the dark room. Lula was asleep again, curled up on a cushion with her small blanket. She looked peaceful, but Jared knew time was running out. Outside, the ship floated silently in the starfield. But it wasn't truly safe. He had seen something strange. On the radar, a small surveillance drone, hiding behind one of the asteroids. Someone was watching. He had to move fast. Jared inserted the data crystal into the terminal again. He needed to know everything. Lines of sorry script appeared on screen. He tapped the translator. Bit by bit, logs began to open personal files. Battle reports, even private messages from SIH single quotes read. One video caught his eye. The title read, "Truth Before Death." He clicked it. The video opened with a shaky camera view. Cyrene's face filled the screen. She looked tired, bruised, and cold, but her eyes were sharp. "My name is Cyrene of the Zari," she said clearly. "And I am not a terrorist. I am not a murderer. I was a soldier, but first, I was a mother." She took a deep breath, her voice calm. "The Human Council says we started the war, that we attacked without reason. But I have proof. The Council's own ships fired first. They attacked our peace convoy. We begged for help. No one listened." Jared leaned forward. "I helped human civilians. I rescued children from the ruins of the city you destroyed. I fought against my own kind to protect yours, but none of that was shown. None of that was reported. Only blood and fear." She held up a small hologram. It showed a human general shaking hands with her. "This man knew the truth. He called me sister. He promised to speak out." 2 days later, he was found dead. "Accident," they said. Jared's hands clenched. His mind raced. "My daughter. Lula is innocent. She has never held a weapon. She cries when birds are hurt. If you find her, know this: she carries no hate. Only hope." Then the screen went black. Jared leaned back slowly, his thoughts swirling. This wasn't just about saving a child anymore. This was about truth, about lies, about the thousands of people who believed what they were told, never questioning it. The council had erased everything, buried the truth, and now they were hunting the last piece of evidence. Lula, he clicked on more files. Maps, battle footage, secret messages between human officers and sorry diplomats. It was all here, the truth, hidden from the public. He downloaded it all to a private drive. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A warning flashed on screen. Incoming signal, identity. Unknown. Jared jumped to the terminal. He killed the signal instantly and shut down external comms. Too late, he muttered. He rushed to Lula's room. She woke up, blinking slowly. Is it morning? She asked sleepily. No, Jared said quickly. We need to move, now. He grabbed his emergency bag and the data drive. They found us. Lula stood up, still sleepy, still confused. But where are we going? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't find you. She reached for his hand. I trust you, she said softly. They ran through the corridors of the ship. Jared opened a secret panel near the engine room. Inside was a small escape, poddled but functional. He loaded Lula inside. She held the blanket tight in her arms. I'm going with you, right? She asked. Jared paused. He couldn't. Someone had to stay behind and launch the decoy. He knelt in front of her. Listen to me. This pod will take you to the nearby moon station. It's run by people who don't answer to the council. I've sent them a message. They'll protect you. Lula's eyes filled with tears. You're leaving? I'll come later, he lied. I just need to make sure they don't follow you. She shook her head. But what if they hurt you? Jared smiled, though his chest hurt. I'm human. They won't shoot first. He placed the drive in her bag. This has everything your mother wanted the galaxy to see. Don't lose it. Lula hugged him tight. Her tears soaked into his shirt. Please be okay. I will, he whispered, as the pod launched into the void. Jared watched it disappear from the ship's radar. Then he turned back to the main terminal. A new signal appeared. A human security vessel. They were almost here. Jared cracked his fingers, pulled up the fake distress message, and opened all COMMs. Let them come. If they wanted to hide the truth, he was going to make it loud. The ship vibrated as docking clamps locked onto the hull. Jared stood in the corridor near the airlock, heart pounding. Red lights blinked above, and a loud hiss filled the hallway. The human patrol had arrived. He wiped the sweat from his face. He'd activated the fake distress beacon just minutes before enough to make the visit look routine. But he knew the truth. The council suspected something. Maybe they had picked up the faint signal from the escape pod he had just launched. Maybe? They already knew he was hiding something. The airlock opened with a loud thud. 4 soldiers in dark armor stepped inside. Their faces were hidden behind glass visors. Their boots made hard thumps on the metal floor. One of them stepped forward. Engineer Jared. Ship ID matches registry. You sent a distress signal. Jared nodded calmly. Navigation. Glitch. Fried some circuits near the gravity core. Worried I might drift off course. The soldier didn't nod. He looked around the hallway. Why did you delay reporting it? You've been drifting for nearly 8 hours. I was trying to fix it myself, Jared said. Didn't want to waste council time. Another soldier stepped forward. This one was holding a thermal scanner. Jared's breath caught. Standard inspection, the second soldier said. You know protocol. Jared kept a smile on his face. Of course. They moved down the hallway, scanners sweeping side to side. One beeped loudly near a wall panel. Jared stepped in. That's just heat from the engine coils. I've rerouted some systems. We'll see for ourselves. One interrupted. They opened the panel. Wires, old tools, dust, nothing else. No sign of Lula. Jared had moved her just in time. She wasn't even on the ship anymore. But still, the soldiers lingered. One of them stood near Jared's personal room, frowning. What's behind this door? He asked. My sleeping pod, Jared answered. Want to check my socks too? The soldier didn't laugh. Instead, he stepped closer and scanned the room. Another beep, faint to faint. He lowered the scanner. Clear. The first soldier finally spoke. You're lucky, Jared. False signals waste fuel and time. Next time, wait until you're actually broken before calling us. Jared forced a grin. Noted? They turned around to leave. Just as the airlock door began to shut, one soldier looked back. You alone on this ship? Yes. The door hissed shut. Jared exhaled deeply and leaned against the wall. His legs felt weak. He hadn't lied, but every truth had been cut short. He walked back to the control room, every step heavy with relief. Fear? Then something hit him. The escape pod, it was still visible on local sensors. He rushed to the panel. His fingers flew across the controls. Please, be far enough. The pod's signal had just passed the outer scan zone safe. Meanwhile, far across the asteroid belt, the escape pod floated silently. Inside, Lula sat with her knees pulled up to her chest. Her small hands gripped the pouch Jared had given her. The drive, the truth. Her mother's voice. She had never flown alone before. The seat felt cold. The cabin small. But her heart remembered Jared's last words. Don't lose it. She looked out the small window. Stars shimmered like tiny candles to her mother once told her. Each star is a home waiting to be found. She hoped it was true. Back on the ship. Jared prepared the next step. He copied all the files onto the ship's external signal array. If anything happened to him now, the system would automatically send everything, all the logs. Videos, proof to every neutral news channel across the galaxy. He added a short message. They lied to us. They made monsters where there were none. I saw the child with my own eyes. She was not our enemy. She was the truth. He hit save and leaned back. Now you'll have to silence the stars themselves, he muttered. But then, boom. A blast rocked the ship. Jared flew from his chair, hitting the wall. Warning lights flashed, not from the patrol. Something. Elsie staggered to the window, and his eyes widened. Pirates. A small black ship had uncloaked from behind the asteroid. Not council raiders. They must have been waiting for the patrol to leave. They had picked the perfect moment to strike. Alarms blared. Jared ran to the weapon. Console.2 blasts hit the hull. Another warning, pressure breach, on deck 3. He knew they tried to board next. His hands moved fast. He reactivated the signal array, now turned into a broadcast antenna. He didn't care anymore. Let the whole galaxy hear. Let them all see what really happened as pirate claws clamped onto the hull and oxygen began to vent. Jared loaded one last message into the system. It was Lula's voice, recorded from her sleep. Mama said, I must live. He pressed transmit all. Asterisk, the ship shook again as another explosion hit the lower deck. Jared rolled across the floor, his ears ringing. Sparks flew from the wall panels. The emergency lights flashed red. The pirates had breached the hull. He grabbed a blaster from the emergency locker and ran toward the engine room, heart pounding. The corridor was filling with smoke. Alarms screamed like wild animals. The cold air stung his skin. He didn't care about the ship anymore. He cared about one thing. Making sure Lula stayed safe. Inside the escape pod, Lula sat frozen as her small screen blinked a soft red warning. Com link lost. Host ship under attack. Her little fingers clutched the soft blanket Jared had wrapped around her. Her chest rose and fell quickly. She didn't understand all the words, but she knew something bad was happening. Her hand reached into the pouch. She pulled out the small photo strip Jared had secretly added her and him, standing side by side, smiling. 1 day ago. But it already felt like a dream. Tears filled her eyes. Jared, please be okay. Back on the ship, Jared reached the weapons bay and pulled up the old manual turret system. He activated the auto-defense mode, useless against pirate tech, but enough to buy him time. The ship groaned again. A large metal claw punched through the cargo bay wall. Jared spun toward the noise. A tall, armored figure stepped through the hole. Holding a plasma rifle. Pirate. No words, just action. The pirate raised his weapon. Bang. Jared fired first. The blaster bolt hit the pirate's chest, sending him crashing against the wall. The armor cracked and the rifle fell. Jared didn't wait. He ran toward the breach and sealed the blast door behind him. One down. More coming. He breathed hard, sweat running down his face. He knew they weren't just after cargo. Pirates scanned for life forms. They probably picked up Lula's signal before she launched. They were tracking her too. He had to stop them. Jared ran to the control hub and activated the self-destruct sequence. A timed detonation. 5 minutes. His fingers shook as he programmed it. Reason, data security override, protect critical truth. It asked for confirmation. He paused, then pressed yes. He grabbed a second escape pod remote beacon, attached it to his wrist, and whispered, "I promised her I'd come later. Let's hope I make it." On the pirate ship, the captain leaned back. Watching Jared's ship on his screen, "Looks like he's got something valuable," the pirate growled. "But where's the girl?" Another pirate replied. "Her pod's out there, heading toward Moon 4. We could catch it." The captain grinned. "First, get that data. Whatever he's hiding, someone out there will pay." Then suddenly static filled their screen. A message was being broadcast from Jared's ship. A child's voice. "Mama said, I must live." Then came Cyrene's video. The logs, the evidence. All of it. The pirate captain's smile faded. "This isn't about cargo," he muttered. Then his ship shuddered. Boom. Jared had launched an overload burst from the reactor. The shockwaves slammed into the pirate ship, forcing them to back off. But Jared wasn't safe either. He stumbled, coughing, as smoke filled the corridor. Only one way out now. He ran to the last escape pod. Inside, he uploaded the last files. He gave one final look at the burning ship behind him. He smiled softly. "Goodbye, old girl." Then he pressed launch. The escape pod shot into space, spinning slightly before stabilizing. Jared buckled in, blood on his arm from a sharp metal cut, but still breathing. He opened the tiny monitor and switched to external view in the far distance. He saw a tiny blinking light. Lula's pod. He smiled again, weak but real. She was still safe, hours later, on Moon Station 4. Lula's pod landed with a soft hiss. She stepped out, shivering from cold. Her blanket around her shoulders. A kind-looking woman with silver hair met her at the gate. "You must be Lula, Kay," she said kindly. Lula nodded, still holding Jared's photo. The woman knelt down. "Don't worry, child. You're safe here. Will Jared come?" Lula asked, voice small. The woman smiled. "We received his signal. He's on his way." Lula's face lit up, and for the first time in days, she felt hope. The stars above Moon Station 4 were quiet. No more alarms, no more gunshots, no more fear. Just the soft hum of peace. Lula stood by the large glass window in the safe wing of the station, watching the stars sparkle in the black sky. She wore clean clothes now. Her hair had been brushed. Her small hands still clutched Jared's photo. It had been 3 days since she arrived. 3 days of food, warm beds, and kind faces. But one face hadn't come yet. She stared at the stars and whispered, "Jared, where are you?" Inside the med bay across the station, Jared lay unconscious, hooked 2 oxygen tubes. His arm was bandaged and burns covered one side of his chest. The escape pod had landed just minutes after Lula's butt he had collapsed on arrival. The doctors had worked all night now. Finally, his eyes fluttered open. A nurse saw the movement and called the lead medic. "He's awake." Jared blinked, slowly struggling to focus. "Where's Lula?" he asked with dry lips. "She's safe," the medic replied. "She's been waiting." 10 minutes later, Lula sat in a chair beside Jared's bed. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw him open his eyes. "Jared?" He smiled weakly. "Hey, kiddo." Lula jumped up and hugged him gently, careful not to touch the wounds. "I thought you died." "I promised I'd come later," he whispered, "and I always keep promises." She held him tighter, and for the first time, Jared let the tears fall. A day later, a large conference was held inside the station's communication dome. Screens across nearby colonies had begun broadcasting a video that shocked the galaxy. The face of Cyrene appeared everywhere. Her voice told the real story of lies, of betrayal, of a mother's final hope. And right beside her story was Jared's, a human who saved the daughter of a supposed enemy. A man who stood up when the rest turned away. In the crowd, reporters buzzed. One asked, "Jared, why did you help a sorry child?" He looked down at Lula, who was standing beside him in a clean dress, holding his hand. Then he said simply, because she was crying. And nobody else listened. The news spread like wildfire. Some humans still believed the council's lies, but others, millions opened their eyes. They saw the truth. They saw the child. They saw the pain in her eyes and the courage in Jared's. And across the stars, a slow change began. Weeks passed. Moon Station 4 became a new home for refugees like Lula. Not just sorry, but others too. Species once hunted, now welcomed. Jared was offered awards, medals, and interviews. He refused most. All he wanted was a quiet place to heal and raise a child. One evening, he sat under the open dome garden, planting flowers. With Lula, she placed a small purple seed in the soil and looked up. "These are from my mother's world," she said. Jared nodded. "What are they called?" She smiled. "We called them star wishers. When they bloom, you can whisper a wish into them and send it to the stars." Jared leaned back and looked at the sky. "What would you wish for?" he asked. Lula was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I'd wish that no other child has to run like me. That no other mother has to say goodbye like mine." Jared swallowed the lump in his throat. "That's a good wish," he whispered. Months later, the garden bloomed. The star wishers opened bright blue flowers with soft glowing edges. Lula stood among them with a small smile. She looked stronger now, happier. She laughed more, slept better, and even taught the other children how to read sorry songs. But every night, she still visited the same spot in the garden. She would close her eyes, touch the flowers, and whisper to the stars, "Thank you, Mama. Thank you for giving me a chance." Jared watched from a distance, his heart full. He didn't save a nation. He didn't end a war. But he saved one child. And sometimes, that was enough to change everything.